Hi, it's Mr. Pat, and I'm going to talk to you about the GMS Woodshop safety quiz that everybody has to take. Some people are either absent or are new to the school, so here's a little video. I'm going to go over the safety rules one by one. So the first one, always wear your safety glasses. Glasses are a little different. We keep them over here in this cabinet. Glasses fit over your ears and on your nose. This is not wearing safety glasses. This is wearing safety glasses. These guys over here are actually goggles with the strap. These would be for trying to keep chemicals out of your eyes because they wrap all the way around your face, kind of look like a raccoon when you take it off. You got that mark around your eyes. We usually don't use goggles. Most of the time we're going to be wearing safety glasses. Now, rule number 2, loose or baggy clothing and loose jewelry, as well as long hair, should be either tied back or removed. So if you have loose sleeves or a long hooded sweatshirt with hooded sweatshirt ties, you want to tuck them in. Ladies with long hair, or gentlemen with long hair, tie your hair back with a ponytail holder. But loose or baggy clothing, a lot of these machines spin, and if your clothing or hair got caught in the machine, it would suck you in the way you'd reel in a fish with a fishing reel, except way faster and with way worse results. So no loose or baggy clothing. Remove it or tuck it in. Open-toed shoes, in other words, flip-flops, sandals, anything where your toes are exposed, not allowed. Now, it's not a big deal in the winter, but in the fall and September, and certainly in May and June, a lot of people are wearing open-toed shoes and flip-flops and sandals. Something falls off the table or you drop a tool on top of your foot, it's going to cause some damage, so no open-toed shoes in the wood shop. Number 4, always ask for permission before using a machine. Not a huge surprise. When you're in your other classes, you ask permission to do something like sharpen your pencil or go to the lab or get a drink. So in here, of course, you would ask permission to use a machine. Even if you are in line and you are next in line, even if the teacher's standing right there, ask permission. It gives the teacher a minute to look at you and say, hey, you need to tie your hair back, or where are your safety glasses? Or maybe you want to tuck in those hooded sweatshirt ties. Or maybe, hey, guess what? We got to change the size of drill in this drill press so you don't wreck your project by drilling too big a hole. So always ask permission before using a machine. Okay, number 5, and this is one people get wrong quite often. Never make an adjustment or walk away from a machine while it is moving. And a lot of people will say while it is on or running. But here's the deal, and you can follow me over here with the camera. Here is a machine I'm going to turn on. You can hear that thing spinning. I'm going to turn it off now. That machine is off. It is no longer running, but it is surely moving. If I put my finger up against it right now, I would cut my finger. It's still moving. You can hear it. That's almost 10 seconds later, and the darn thing is still moving. So just because I took the power switch and turned it off doesn't mean that the machine has stopped moving. It may not be running, it may not be on, but always wait until the machine has stopped moving before walking away or before making an adjustment.
Rule number 6, never touch machines that you have not been shown how to use. Whether it is a router, whether it is a drill press or a bandsaw, if we have not shown you how to successfully and safely operate the machine, do not touch it. Rule number 7, when you look around the shop, you will see that there are lots of vacuums. They are for sucking up sawdust only. Do not use them on people. Also, do not, and be very careful of this, do not suck up any metal screws. they will get caught in the machines, and that will be a very expensive bill for you and your parents to pay for. Rule number 8, the blade guard should be 1/8 of an inch above the material being cut. As you can see here, this is 1/2 inch, this is 1/4 inch. My hands could still get caught inside of the blade. That is a no-no. Make sure that we are lowering the blade all the way down onto the block and then pump it up to give it a tiny little gap, or as we say, 1/8 of an inch. Now when I have my hands on either side, there is no chance that I'm going to get my palm stuck in front of the blade.
Now, number 9 talks about any damage to a machine or tool should be reported to the teacher, and of course not used. Things break in here. Guess what? 600 and some odd kids use this woodshop every year. Of course tools wear out. Of course tools break. But if you don't tell me, we can't fix those tools. Sometimes it's very simple. This machine right over here, sometimes the blades break. Very easy. I could replace a blade in under a minute, and they only cost about 25 cents to replace. Now, I'm not saying you should go ahead and purposely break a blade, but if you do, let me know and I'll take care of it. If you never tell me, the next person to use that saw could wreck their project or even get injured by a piece of the broken blade flying off. So when you break something in here, tell the teacher, don't worry, we won't be mad at you unless you were doing something seriously reckless, and then we can deal with it. We have some new machines in the back we're ready to replace as soon as the old ones wear out. So let us know if any damage to a machine or tool happens, and we'll take care of it for you. Number 10, we were just talking about any broken tools or machines. What if a student gets broken? And by broken, I mean you have an injury or an accident. You slip and fall and hit your elbow on the table. You cut yourself somehow. You get something in your eye. Perhaps you get a splinter, or maybe even just the dust from the sawdust in the air causes you to have an asthma attack. Any injuries or accidents should be reported to the teacher. Once again, what would you do in gym class or phys ed if you had an injury? If you got hit in the eye with a softball or wiffle ball or something, of course you'd tell the teacher and we'd deal with it. So any kind of injury or accident the teacher needs to know about right away. Number 11, hands or fingers should never enter the blade path. What is the blade path, you ask me? Well, as we know, a path leads somewhere. So the blade path leads to the blade. Over on this machine here, you can see this is where the blade is, and directly in front of it, we've drawn this red line. That leads right to the blade. Now, to cut my piece of wood, I have to put my wood in front of the blade path. What I never want to do is put my fingers or my hand in front of the blade path. Should I slip, or should somebody bump into me, or should the cut just go quicker through the wood than I expect, my fingers would be right directly in front of that blade. That would be very dangerous. I need to find a way to hold my workpiece so my hands stay outside of the blade path. Over here there's another machine, and there's another red line. Pretty much every saw in the world has a blade path. Here's our blade, and you can see there's a little red line right there that leads right up to it, and this is how I would hold it. Never like this, because that would put my fingers in the blade path. So it keeps hands and fingers out of the blade path. Along with our blade guard we talked about earlier, if you have those two things, it's almost impossible for you to get injured on a saw.
Power tools are fun, but remember, when the teacher or one of your fellow students is using one of these powered machines, do not distract them. When working in the wood shop, you will be working with a lot of sharpened materials and tools. Make sure whenever you pick them up and you carry them, they are pointed down, or the sharp side down. That way when you transport them, you can transport them safely and put them back where they belong.
Now often students will say, "Hey Mr. Pat, I have one of those tools in my garage," or "I saw one of those in my grandpa's basement." which is fine. A lot of these tools are very common household items as well. But if you were going to use a tool or machine at home, you always need to ask permission. All right? You might go to use a drill in your garage, and it's a drill that's only for metal. And by cutting a piece of wood, you might mess it up, or you might mess up your piece of wood. And when it's not your thing anyway, you should always ask permission before using something else that belongs to somebody else. So, if you're going to use a tool or machine at home, always ask permission. Okay, these tools over here are called drill presses. They're not just drills, they're drill presses, because when I pull this handle, you can see it pushes the drill bit. That's the part that makes the hole, or bites the wood. I like to think of it as that way. The drill bit goes up and down. So this is a drill press. The drill bit, I can change the sizes. You can see there are many different drill bit sizes that I can choose from. So how do I get the drill bit in and out of here? Well, there's this tool called a chuck key. I don't know why it's called a chuck key. This part right here is called a chuck. I don't know who named it, but this opens it up, and things that open locked things are called keys. So this chuck key goes in here, and I can remove my drill bit, and I can even put in a much smaller drill bit if I needed to, and lock that in, because we lock things with a key. Now, if I left my chuck key in this chuck and turn on my machine, it's going to spin around and the chuck key will go flying. We don't know where. When I turn this on, very quickly it's spinning at a very high speed, and as we all know from carnival rides and things like that, things that spin tend to move outwards. It's called centrifugal force. So as this thing spins, the likelihood of this chuck key flying out and whacking someone in the head is very high. So always remove the chuck key before turning on the drill press.
Rule number 16, to shut off all the machines in case of an emergency, we will use the big red button. This is our emergency shutoff. Now remember, this is not a joke. This is not a toy. If the teacher tells you, or if you have a general concern for somebody's safety that they could get hurt, slam that button down. It will shut off all the machines in the wood shop to make sure that safety is always rule number 1.
Okay, so we're over here at a machine called the disc sander. I always remember it's the disc sander because it's got a disc made out of sandpaper. When I think of disc, I think of Frisbee. Some people think of a compact disc or a DVD.
Or what?
But this is all made out of sandpaper. And it spins to the left. In other words, you need to make sure that your workpiece is on the left side, which actually makes it pull the piece down that you're working on. If you happen to put it on the other side, it tends to want to pick it up and throw it away from this machine. Now, one easy way to remember that we always keep our work on the left is that on this entire wall of sanding machines, if you stand and kind of look through the window into the classroom, the disc sanders are on the left side of this wall. So left side, always keep your work on the left side of the disc sander.
Rule number 18, do not run in the wood shop. Do not sit on the tables in the wood shop. There is no horseplay in the wood shop. Look to your left. Look to your right. One of your friends has messed this up already. Use common sense. No horseplay in the wood shop.
So this one kind of relates back to what we were talking about before, that if a machine is broken, that you should tell the teacher. Well, one of the first signs you're going to notice that a machine might be broken would be it making some sort of weird or unusual noise. If a machine makes an unusual noise, you should turn it off or shut it down. Now, for example, this machine makes sort of a humming, buzzing noise. You can see that it's spinning there. And when I turn it off, it no longer makes that noise. If when I was turning that machine on, all of a sudden it made a loud squealing noise or some kind of a banging noise, you would know that was unusual. And you would go, hey, that's a bad sign, I'm going to turn the machine off. Don't just sit there and watch the machine and go, wow, that sounds terrible, I bet the thing's breaking. Shut it off, find a teacher, tell them about it. It might be something real easy, just a minor adjustment, or it might mean that that whole machine is no longer safe to use. But if a machine makes an unusual noise, turn it off and then tell the teacher, please.
Rule number 20, sawdust. When it gets on the floor, it can be very slippery. We always sweep it up. If you get some on your clothes, once again, we're not using a vacuum. We'll use a little brush and we'll brush it off onto the floor. After that, the hand brush and the dustpan, we can sweep it in. If there's a lot of sawdust, we're going to go ahead and grab our trusty broom and make sure we get all the sawdust that's on the floor into one pile. Make sure we put our equipment back on the wall where it goes. Get our brush again and our dustpan. Sweep it up and throw it in the trash.